We are live.
Hello, everybody. I'm Vedika. I'm joining you all from New Delhi. We also have my colleague Shazia here. She's joining us from Calcutta. And we have Anjali Vyas, who is joining us from Bhandara in Maharashtra. I would like to welcome you all for the sixth session of Building Back Better series, MSunderstand, a multiple sclerosis awareness campaign. So, invisible disability, or some people call it the hidden disabilities, is an umbrella term which is used to recognize a spectrum of challenges that are neurological in nature. So, these disabilities are not apparent to the other person, but that does not mean these problems are not real to the person who's living with them. So some examples of invisible disabilities are extreme fatigue, dizziness, pain, autism, mental health issues. And multiple sclerosis is a combination of both invisible and visible disabilities.
MS affects every person differently. Of course, my story is something that can be a story of many, but that does not mean that my story applies for everybody. So MS, as the name suggests, multiple sclerosis, is a tongue twister. Nobody can really, at the first instance, pronounce it correctly. So I was diagnosed with MS when I was in the final year of my engineering in 2014. I had this pain in my optic nerve in my right eye. And I could not understand why it's happening. I thought that it is infection or so, because I did not exhibit any visible symptoms. You see, I was looking absolutely normal, as the society quotes it to be. That when you ask me what is it to be like a person with MS and living with it, see, I had many invisible symptoms of MS, such as fatigue. Even my vision loss was not evident. So, that is the biggest challenge, that even if you have certain symptoms, when you're not able to explain, it becomes a big problem for most of us, especially when it is the beginning of MS. Because at that point of time, the person who has been diagnosed also takes a lot of time to accept the fact that one has it. When the term multiple sclerosis was introduced to me and my family, when I was finally diagnosed, it was a jargon. It's still a jargon to my family members. They just don't understand what is it. We can't pronounce it properly. And when we ask people, even the doctors, sadly, they don't know about it, the general practitioners. So if I were to say what has been the real challenge, I would say that the awareness has been the biggest challenge. And of course, the invisible side of this condition. So this is very in continuation with my previous response also, that mostly people don't come out and talk about it because of the stigma. I know where the stigma lies. The stigma lies in the very fact that it is invisible. That it's completely fine, Anjali. You look absolutely all right. Why do you want to talk about it? Why do you want to disclose this? People might misjudge you and this and that. But then MS is something which people mistaken as sometimes genetic. Hereditary, sorry, not genetic. I want to correct myself. They sometimes mistaken it as hereditary or congenital. And that's the reason why mostly ask the women, where you will find the prevalence higher than men, because multiple sclerosis is found twice in women than men, and that too among the youths. So when it comes to also understanding MS, people sometimes mistaken it as something that has to do with the uh, hereditary factors, and that I have this condition since birth. And that's the reason why mostly people don't talk, because then they get scared that, oh my God, if this is hereditary, is it safe for me to marry this person? Or is it safe for us to even have a glass of water? Because then comes another myth that MS is contagious and infectious. I remember that incident when I was at my family's get together. I'm talking about close family members, by the way. And I offered a glass of water to one of my relatives. And he asked me whether it was safe for him to get the glass of water from me. In fact, he also asked me if it's safe for his daughter to also talk to me, communicate with me, because I have MS, because I was freshly diagnosed with MS that time. So people mistaken it as something which is contagious or infectious, and it's not. So A, it's not hereditary. B, it's not congenital. You don't have it since birth. C, it's not infectious or contagious. Fourth, people's MS is not always disabling. It does not lead to disability in every case. That's the reason why in the very beginning I said that MS affects every person differently. And the fifth being MS is fatal. MS is going to kill you, or that it has something to do with, or it is going to affect your life expectancy. No, it will not. Yes. So we were quite happy. In fact, the entire community was happy that finally MS has been recognized as a disability. So when I say disability, even that is a stigma for people. But Anjali, you don't look like a person with disability at all. Please don't lie. But in disability does not mean a visible one always. That is the very challenge with the act for us. That despite being recognized as a disability, majority of the people who live with multiple sclerosis do not exhibit any visible symptoms or disability per se. And that's the very issue as to why, even if we have been provided a place, a dedicated space in the act, there are many rights that we have been deprived of. Because firstly, if you look at it, as I said that I look absolutely fine. So if I go and ask the people to provide me with a certificate, if I go for an assessment, they will straight away reject because I don't like a person with disability. Hence, they will not issue me the certificate. And you know why the certificate or UDID is extremely important? Because that helps us get into the national data of Government of India. Sadly, we had the last census in 2011. Even then, we did not have a disaggregated data. We have never have actually got any disaggregated data on disabilities in India. We still don't have. But then this UDID is a very important tool. In fact, a weapon, I may say, to actually fight for our rights. But if you're not issuing us the UDID, there'll be no data as such based on which we can fight. And therefore, when most of the policies are made on disability, we are not counted. For example, let me begin with the first one. That happens because there is a relapse, which in general we call an attack. And that has been, that gets determined with the help of several tests that are conducted, right? But after we recover, we again get back to the very normal, quote unquote, space and position. But then if I were to go to the government hospital, sadly, only the government and authorized hospitals can issue the certificate. That's the first challenge that we have to again face, even if we apply for it. So usually you are entertained only when you come either with a walking stick or on a wheelchair. Otherwise, nobody's going to believe you. While even if you, I mean, as soon as you enter the space, you know, the doctors will, for first 2 minutes, will actually gaze and look at you from top to bottom and then feel as if we have come to a wrong place. Apart from the very visible ones, most of the people with MS have got invisible symptoms. That's the very reason why we call it invisible disability, because a symptom can also impact the way we work and can disable us either temporarily or permanently. A symptom can do that, right? So when I had my vision loss, I could not see with one eye, and now I can. But for that period of time, I was a disabled person, wasn't I? So when I have to go, there are certain symptoms that need to be considered while the person is getting assessed, which sadly is not. Number one, fatigue. Number two, urinary incontinence. Number three, tingling and numbness. Number four, spasticity, muscle spasm, etc. Now, these are the invisible symptoms that are not considered at all in the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act under the assessment of multiple sclerosis. So if in this state of mind I go to the hospital, I will not be allowed or perhaps not be entertained, or will be simply said that, you know, you do not have any disability as such. So you can go back. Now, if I fight there again, there's another twist to the story. They might entertain, and based on my previous MRI reports, where it states that, you know, this person had a vision loss, this and that, and I was disabled, they will check my eyesight, or maybe, you know, a physiotherapist will see if I have got any spasticity issues and then issue me a certificate. But that certificate or UDI will be only temporary. And So lack of employer support and awareness on MS is the biggest challenge uh, at employment. Secondly, most of the people with MS, because as I said, they do not exhibit symptoms, they are provided with certain tasks, which at one point of time, they are not, maybe I won't say capable of doing. They are pretty much capable, but they are not fit to do at one point of time. So some of the examples, brilliant examples of how persons with MS could be helped and accommodated with that workplace is number one, by providing them the opportunity of flexi timings, that they can work at so and so for so and so hours in a day. Doesn't matter if you're working from evening till night or from morning till afternoon, or providing them with telecommutation, which is work from home facility. There is one global MS employment report which was released in 2016 by the MS International Federation that highlighted some of the external factors that stopped persons with MS from staying at employment for long. And the very common and the top, the very top reason for this was low awareness and also the support from the employer. So they wanted that the employer must provide them with flexi timing of work from opportunity. That's the reason why I say that it is the important accommodation that an employer can provide. Secondly, because persons with MS also have the problem of urinary incontinence or bladder issues. So we have to take a lot of trips to the washroom in one single day. Not so. I think that another accommodation that that an employer can provide is to provide that person with MS a work desk or a cubicle or a cabin closer to the washroom. Thirdly, when we talk about employer support, it's not just only in terms of accommodations like these. Awareness is extremely important. And when I say awareness, it's not just amongst the employers or your colleagues. You're the first-hand people that you interact with as soon as you enter the office building. Our watchman, the janitor, even the ones who are doing clerical jobs at the workplace, for that matter, a peon. Okay, these are also the people whom we interact with on regular basis, correct? So if we need a support at one particular point of time, and you know that it is a situation where you can't go to your colleague right now. So when we talk about inclusive workspace and that the awareness should be there within the organization, like, why restrict it only to colleagues? Train these people. So when we have this next accommodation that an employer can provide a person with MS is the fact that, if you are the one who has a own vehicle, right? Or even if you do not have any, if you reach the workplace, by the time you walk and get into the very premises of your workplace, fatigue seeps in and we are already tired. By the time we reach our desk, we are all drained. It's the start of our day. A person who has got his own vehicle should also be provided a parking space closer to the elevator and entrance of the building. So if my employer knows that I have these issues, right? And fatigue is the most disabling symptom. And actually that is a proven report by MS International Federation, a survey which was conducted, that fatigue impacts the quality of life. If my employer knows and if he provides me with a space near the entrance of the workplace, right, or the parking lot, I think half of my problems can get solved there, because then that way I just get out of my vehicle and use the elevator, correct? Accessible washrooms. We have been talking about accessible washrooms. Now, have you ever seen these washrooms? The doors are so heavy. Without a caregiver, without a support, you can't enter the washroom. So accessibility does not simply mean that, when you enter the washroom, you've got this and that to hold on, you've got a grab bar. But then the first step is the entrance. That should also be that accessible and easy for a person with any disability for that matter, even a wheelchair user. Because if I have to take the help of the other person just to enter the washroom, what's the point? It should be easy enough for me to also enter and access that washroom. And I guess there are many ways of doing so. Maybe we can have a sliding door and not really a door that we have to push. Something that can help this person. And because that is the sense of independence, right? That at least I can pee on my own. I don't need anybody else to take me to that place.
I think this is a food for thought for everyone. And is there anything else that Anjali you would like to add, like a takeaway that you would want to leave the audience with?
That, when people say that everybody, oh God, Anjali, you do not have a disability, that way everyone has a disability. Even I am disabled. I mean, these are for me euphemisms, although with a pure heart and with goodwill, they all say that. But using such terminologies also are the differentiators for us. Calling us specially abled and differently abled is doing no good to us because we are neither different nor special. Treat us equal. I am Anjali. I am somebody who trains people in English language. I am somebody who advocates for persons with MS at MS Society of India. Then I'm someone who has a disability called MS. The person comes first.
Right.
So it's very important for everyone out here who's listening that please understand the person is first an individual.